Snap. That one single sound had become the galaxy's most terrifying sound. The act of placing two digits together and applying pressure until one slides down and impacts the base of the other with a loud noise. Most races of the galactic community are unable to replicate the effect, their digits either unable to move that way or lack the flesh to make the snapping noise. There are in fact only 5 species that can successfully snap their fingers: the Mocked, the Ravnark, the Quetzal, the Thresk, and the humans. The reason why the sound of a finger snap is so terrifying is due to the last 2 races mentioned before. The Thresk and humans seem to have evolved from a type of primate, so they have a similar build with some differences. The humans stand between 4 and 6 feet tall, with some of them standing even taller. They are bipedal with 2 arms that end at a hand with 5 digits each. They are covered by a thin layer of skin that has sections of hair that can grow rather long, while other patches remain short and thin. Then on the top of their bodies is a single head that contains their brains and most of their sensory organs. The Thresk, however, stand between 6 and 10 feet tall. They too are bipedal, however, they have 4 arms instead of 2. They also have hair that covers their bodies. But unlike the humans, their hair is thick like fur and covers them from head to toe, with the exception of hands, feet, and external sensor organs. Their heads are much wider than that of a human as well, and their eyes are lower, closer to the side of their wide mouths. The humans were a joke when they first came into the galaxy. Their technology was primitive, their demeanor weak, and they entered the Galactic Council as a peaceful race. We all thought they were pushovers and that they would all be dead in a century at most. Peaceful races don't last long here, especially when you're up against a race as aggressive as the Thresk. Not long after their entrance, they showed up with a small fleet of ships to aid the Cranch, an insectoid race who were suffering from a species-wide plague. Billions of their kind were dying every week, and they had already lost 5 of their worlds. The humans came with the aid of medical teams and scientists, who quickly created a cure for this plague. These scientists and medics managed to save the entire Cranch race from the very grips of death. The saving of the Cranch did not sit well with the Thresk, who were patiently waiting for the Cranch to die so that they may jump in and claim their territory for their own. Patience was something the Thresk had a severe lack of, and having their plans ruined set them off in a rage. Their war with the humans started with the destruction of that same medical fleet, as well as the closest human colony. Enraged by this unprovoked attack, the human counselor accused the Thresk of murder and war crimes. The Thresk counselor claimed it wasn't them. But after evidence was brought forth, proving they were behind the attack, they said they were sorry and that they wouldn't do it again. 3 days later, another colony was attacked and destroyed, and again the council was met with, "I'm sorry, we won't do that again." After several more similar attacks, it became obvious that no matter how much the humans asked for the hostility to stop, the Thresk would just lie through their teeth and make false apologies. The worst part of this was, nobody on the council said anything. We all remained silent. After all, if you can't defend yourself, you shouldn't be offering aid in the first place. Nearly 2 human years went by, and the humans were forced to pull back to their home system, only stopping the retreat when the Thresk no longer found killing them entertaining. We all thought the humans were beaten back to their worlds and broken of their spirit. We were wrong. The humans then went silent. The only people who even saw them after this were those that stayed trading partners with them and the Cranch. But not a single human was seen outside the Sol system after that. It seemed the humans would die out after all, and much sooner than the 100-year pot that we all bet against. They completely pulled out of everything, including the Galactic Council, stating the lack of action from the Council to stop the Thresk's aggression was just as bad as Thresk's actions themselves. That the Council was content with watching 2 species commit genocide. And they were not wrong. 30 years went by without the humans stepping a toe outside their home system, and by then the Council had practically forgotten about them. That was until one day, every counselor across the galaxy got a single message, requesting a meeting at the Great Halls of Umshire, the council's capital. Nobody knew who sent out the message, but every race's representative showed up. It took some time, but eventually the lead counselors called the meeting to start and immediately asked who had called for this meeting, as nobody would take credit for the message. From the middle of the Great Hall, on the platform in the very center, where nobody was currently standing, a loud male voice bellowed out, "We called the meeting." There was a loud clicking sound, like that of snapping fingers, and the air above the stage started to shimmer and glow, before revealing a rather tall, well-built human male. The uniform he wore was unknown, but definitely had the feel of military. Dress blue uniform covered his body with several ribbons on the left side of his blouse, a name tag on the right, and on the lapel of this blue suit sat 4 gold stars. The shock of the council was quickly turned into laughter as the various races remembered the human. Some of the counselors started making taunts at the human. "Oh, look at the pathetic humans playing army." Others started yelling about how disrespectful it was for a dying race to even stand in the great halls. The human held out an arm and snapped his fingers. The lights in the great hall all went out at the exact same time, some kind of trick done by the human. The representatives all stopped laughing for a moment, but quickly they started laughing again. "Oh, did your intimidation check not work out, little human? Go back to your world and die. Freck off, you primate." The laughter died down quickly when the light from the star Umshire orbited started to fade. Looking through the transparent roof revealed an enormous artificial moon, decloaking between the planet and its star, similar in the way this human had decloaked. Cloaking technology was something that was still in testing phase for even the most advanced races. It had some small-scale success in the past, but it all had failed miserably when trying to work on anything bigger than a Wargrad. This impossible technology was being used here on an astronomical scale. The human snapped his fingers again. This time, a wall of monitors behind the council leaders turned on, each monitor showing a different solar system, with the name of said system below it. Every single system belonged to the Thresk. "What is this, human?" the Thresk representative yelled. 35 years ago, we entered into this council as a new race to the stars. We had hoped to. He is cut off by the Kligorian counselor to die, human. Your weak species would be better suited as the centerpiece for a banquet. We had hoped to come here and learn from one another, to travel the stars and help each other. Sadly, we learned the hard way that this was not the way of things. What was the total count, human, before we got bored of your pleas? 20 billion, 30, asks the Thresk counselor, clearly just trying to agitate the human. It was 32 billion people. The human responds. 32 billion innocent men, women, and children. Snap. The human snaps his finger, and on one monitor, the star goes supernova. The shock wave from the star disintegrates the planets in its orbit before it hits the camera, and the monitor goes to static. The human turns and looks at the Thresk representative. "You greeted us into the galaxy with aggression and bloodshed when we came here to learn and help with open arms." The Thresk representative, his eyes still on the monitor, quickly turned to the human, and a growl escapes his mouth before they start to smile. "That was fine trickery, human, you almost had me with that. Clearly some tech-savvy person created that image on a computer. Now clear." He is cut off by several notifications across the entire Great Hall. Several representatives are getting notifications all at once. Gasps of horror can be heard all around the Great Hall. One of the lead counselors, a Grand, speaks up. "We have just got confirmation of the destruction of the Eris system. Its star has gone supernova. Can anyone else confirm this?" There are several other races that confirm. The information is correct. The human in the center starts to smile while holding out his hand and snapping his fingers again. This time the second monitor in place shows its star-going supernova, and like the first one, it completely destroys its planets before the camera is destroyed. Silence fills the Great Hall, and a few seconds later, another round of notification sounds. More gasps. How have you done this? One counselor screams out, followed by the Thresk representative yelling. You will die for this, human. The human puts his finger together again and holds them ready to snap again. We demand that the council hold the Thresk accountable for their actions and make policies to ensure. He is cut off by the Gord counselor who sits on the High Council. How dare you make demands of this council? You human. The human snaps his fingers again, and this time the first monitor changes its video feed of static to that of the Grand Counselor's home system. As everyone watches, the human puts its fingers together. Stop him. Somebody kill him before he snaps his fingers again. You can kill my counselors, says the human. You can even kill me. However, any human can snap their fingers and do what I have. He turns to look at the lead counselors. Isn't that right, Sergeant Ramirez? The Gorn counselor lets out a shriek as a knife decloaks right in front of his throat. A human male who was a moment before cloaked behind the counselor leans down and whispers loud enough for the counselor's microphone to hear. That is correct, Admiral. Sergeant Ramirez brings his other hand around to the other side of the counselor's face and snaps his fingers. On the monitor, the Lacta system is destroyed by its star-going supernova. The Grand Hall is now so quiet that the human in the center barely has to raise his voice to be heard. Speak carefully, counselors. I'm not in a forgiving mood. How did you come by this technology? You didn't have anything close to this when you fell back, asks the Gorn, the knife still pressed to his throat. Oh, that was easy, says the human in the center. We watched you. We advanced our stealth technology fairly quickly. Once we were able to cloak individuals, we infiltrated your ranks. Anytime one of your scientists came close to making cloaking tech or advanced weapons, we sabotaged the work and stole the data. I do have to say, some of your security is so bad, a human child could hack into your most secure information. You dare try to tell us your children can breach our security? Do you think we are stupid? Says the Thresk counselor. The human snaps his fingers another time, and the third monitor shows the destruction of the third Thresk system, silencing the counselors again. Ironically, at this point, the only race that is still somewhat talking are the Cranch. Their representative is talking to his staff seated behind him. Human, he yells out. If you want this council to make changes, perhaps you should start with peaceful actions. You are right, the human says. He turns to the Thresk representative. Let's start fresh. I am Fleet Admiral Austin Boutish with the Unified Terran Space Command. I apologize for the actions my government and I have taken against your people. Would you accept a peaceful negotiation with the Terran peoples? Go spec yourself, human, the Thresk counselor says, practically spitting the words at him. You may have blown up 3 of my systems, but we. Admiral Boutish snaps his fingers and the 4th monitor springs to life with this system's star-going supernova. How dare you? I'll have my fighting force attack your homeworld at once for. Admiral Boutish snaps his finger again and a 5th solar system is destroyed. I'm sorry. I won't do that again, says Boutish. He snaps his fingers again, this time making direct eye contact with the Thresk representative. Eyes wide, brows down, the rage emitting off this human can almost be felt. The Thresk representative and the rest of the Great Hall remain quiet, except the Cranch who are now chanting for peace with their high-pitched voices. Admiral Boutish snaps his fingers again, and the 6th system is gone. I'm sorry, we won't do that again. He snaps his fingers again. I'm sorry, we won't do that again. Every representative is now terrified, watching this pink-skinned primate just snap his fingers, and billions of lives are extinguished. Boutish snaps his fingers 5 more times, each time pausing to repeat his statement. I'm sorry, we won't do it again. Each time he says this, he raises his voice just a little until he is screaming it at the top of his lungs, all the while slowly walking directly at the Thresk counselor. Finally, he starts snapping between the words. I'm, snap, sorry, snap, we, snap, want, snap, do, snap, it, snap. He steps right to the Thresk's counselor's desk, again. He growls the words through his teeth at the representative and snapping his finger right in their face. 18 solar systems have been turned into dust particles, countless trillions of lives ended. The silence in the Great Hall is only being overpowered by the Cranch chanting, peace, peace, peace. Admiral Bowdish turns and walks back to the center of the Great Hall, leaving the Thresk counselor now screaming in frustration and sorrow as his people are decimated. When Bowdish gets back to the center, the Thresk representative finally pries his eyes off the monitors and glares at the human. I'll kill you for that, human. The Thresk counselor yells. Shut your specking mouth. Admiral Bowdish yells back. He then turns and addresses the Great Hall. When we came here, we wanted nothing but to fit in. We were starstruck by your technology and your worlds. Hell, we even overlooked your more unethical practices due to being so amazed by you all. I did some digging in your historical records a while back and something I found made me kind of laugh. He turns to the Thresk counselor. The Thresk Empire was only created about 5,000 years ago. I do not see why that would be amusing, says another counselor. The Thresk think they are so great, he replies. They think they can do anything they want because they are strong. Well, I find their empire funny. Because what took them 5,000 years to build, I will erase with a snap of my fingers. Tell me, Thresk, who is more powerful now? He snaps his fingers and the 19th system belonging to the Thresk is evaporated. The Thresk counselor roars as he stands from his chair. He jumps up onto his desk and intending to jump down onto the ground floor, charging at the Admiral. However, before he can, Admiral Bowdish snaps his fingers again and the Nortuk counselor sitting in front of the Thresk counselor is suddenly covered in brain matter as the Thresk's head simply explodes, his corpse falling to the floor with the sound of thunder echoing in the Great Hall. A human with a high-powered rifle decloaks from behind the Thresk's aides, smoke still trailing out from its barrel. It points this weapon at the aides, but stands still, not attacking. The rest of the Great Hall counselors don't seem to know what to do at this point. It seems the humans have full control over them, and one wrong move will result in billions dying, or them. Most start to look behind them nervously, looking for the human hiding in the dark. Just how many cloaked soldiers are in the Great Hall with them? How many counselors have guns placed to the back of their heads? Bowdish then turns and addresses the lead counselors. You have allowed the galaxy to be plundered and brutalized by selfish races who think they are better than others. And why shouldn't we? Says the doormat representative. Most of us were exploring the stars when your race was still digging through their own feces for food. One of the monitors changes its image to the home system of the Dorncats. Admiral Bowdish holds his fingers together. Careful, representative. Your race stayed out of our conflicts and refused to pick a side. Your neutrality will give you this one warning. So speak carefully. Your people's lives depend on it. The following hour was spent with Admiral Bowdish snapping his fingers over and over and over again, obliterating star after star of disrespectful representatives who refused to make peaceful agreements. By the time the remaining counselors finally gave in to the humans' demands, every Thresk system was destroyed, several other representatives were missing several systems, and a couple were now part of a species on the verge of extinction. Every race was now absolutely terrified of the sound of snapping. Well, all but the Cranch. Author's name and the link to original text is in the description. Consider tapping the thumbs up and pressing the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video.